guys, and welcome back to another episode of Studio Time. And in this episode I'm going to talk more in depth about the Eurorack modular wall that I have behind me, what modules I bought and for what reason. Because as you guys know, I sold all the vintage gear that I have, and not one day did I actually regret that. Many people are asking me that. I do not regret selling it. It's in the homes of many people that have a lot of fun with it, but I'm happy that I don't need to deal with it anymore. Talking about the Eurorack, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take the camera from the cameraman and I'm gonna introduce you through the whole system so you get a really good overview what I have and how it's being hooked up and why certain things are the way that they are. Okay. Why do I have the camera pointed right here and not actually on anything more specific yet? I just want to tell you how this rack is being built up. So right over there and right over there, what we see is clock information and information coming out of the sequencers being trigger information. So the clock is right there and the clock is being distributed through everything that is black in this system. Black also represents purely simple trigger information. So if I zoom out a little bit, you see the whole color scheme that I have here, and that different cables are connected to different modules. We'll get to that all in detail, and we go to the left side of the rack and we see a similar thing. We see white cables, black cables, green cables, purple cables, pink cables, and yellow cables. Maybe I already said yellow, but let's just focus in on my color scheme. Yes, there we go. So there you have it, what everything is. So in the beginning, I needed to remind myself what color am I going to be using for what. And therefore, I just typed it out, and so I would look at it every time. But now, finally, after a year and a half, my gray brain is able to remember these colors, what they are. Yes, as you get older, the brain works less fast. So we'll all have to deal with it sooner or later. So where we were is the clock and trigger information. So here we see the trigger information, and here we see the basic clock. So where is the clock coming from? Well, the clock is actually coming from MIDI information. And here we see the MIDI cable coming from Cubase, and it goes into this Erica black sequencer. Let me just get a few cables out of the way so you can see it a little better. This is an absolutely beautiful sequencer, and I actually use two of them. One is in the right rig, and one is in the left one. Why would I use two sequencers? Well, because it's very easy to have two sequencers run in sync with each other, and you can do all kinds of things with the modules here, and you can do all kinds of things over there with a different sequencer that might have a unique tempo or completely different trigger information. So for me, it works really great to have it like that. Every red cable coming out of this Erica sequencer is CV information, and actually note CV information. And the note CV information is going to these multiples from where it is distributed to various different modules with the white cables. So the white cables actually represent envelope information coming out, and we see the same system here on the right. So the black cables are distributing the trigger information or clock information. The red cables are distributing CV information, and the black cables go to envelopes like we see a bunch over here. And the white outputs, which means envelope output, is now going to another set of multiples, and from there it's being distributed where I want it to go, or as you see here, it can be used to use a filter or something else you want to trigger with an envelope, but these are not connected yet, so they're empty. So now I want to talk a little bit about what is in this rack. So I'm going to the left rack. So both racks are technically set up the same way. Clock in this case is on the right, but it's on the left here. From that point forward, it becomes almost like a mirror. Right next to it, we have a CV morpher, which is an incredible box, and I've got one for the left and one from the right. Here we see a bunch of modules from Xeoc that have something to do with how trigger is being distributed to other modules, but also how to treat CV. Right next to it, we see a bunch of multiples and inverters. So here we see the multiples we just talked about with the CV and envelope information. And right next to it, we see a modulator by Erica Synth. Here we see the Belgrade filters we talked about in a different video. Here we see a filter and analog delays. We see an effect unit that we talked about in a different video as well, another one. These are incredible sounding mixes, AJH. I'm using these to mix certain effects together, and then these black cables will take it to a mixer in this rack, but also to the Buchla. Here we see some more effects units by Teenage Engineering, incredible company. One more video, one more filter over here. Some other sexy stuff from another brand. I'm just blanking on the name because I'm the cameraman at the same time. Here we see some passive multiples. We see a mixer by Erica Synth. We see an LFO by Instro. We see the Octasource by Erica Synth. So this is a really interesting thing. By actually moving these magnets around, it actually changes like what trigger information and voltages are coming out of the top ones, and it gives really like interesting random stuff. Here we have a summing mixer of which the output left and right is going to Cubase. If we go 2 rows below that, we just talked about the Erica sequencer, the black one. Here we see the Zadar, which is also by Xeoc, and this is like a completely programmable ADSR. You can choose all kinds of shapes. It's a very, very interesting box, and it delivers really, really high quality envelopes and very experimental envelopes. Here we see envelopes by Instro. They're absolutely fantastic. And right behind it, we see some envelopes too, but they are just attack, decay. These ones actually do attack, decay, sustain, release. Right next to it, we see some EGs by Erica. Here we see a filter which is from the 2500s from Behringer. We see the Q-Pass, which is a stereo filter by Magnoise, actually very, very good. And here we see 2 Roland filters made by Maleko as a reissue. Very good filters. Underneath that, we see 2 Electro-Rossum filters, fantastic stuff. Here we see 2 Elysium mixers, also fantastic stuff, more Erica Synths. Here we see N-Stereo VCAs, and here voltage out levelers. I just move over and we see some more Erica modules, and here we see 2 joysticks, and it's very interesting how you can program them to use that control data to influence like whatever you want in your rack. Right there we see Endorphins, the MIDI interface with a breakout box for USB. Very, very good box. Underneath we go to 2 rows at the same time. This is the oscillator section. So we see the stereo oscillator by Make Noise. We see two modules of 4MS, of which one is a multi-band resonator and the other one is the spherical wavetable on the right. And now I need to lean over the camera to see it. Okay, this is a Sophia. I've got that oscillator twice, and then we move on to the Odessa. Now we get to the mixer here. This is a WMD mixer. It's probably one of the best mixers ever made for Eurorack. It has A and B inputs. You can switch between A and B. There are many ways to control panning with CV. The sound of it is absolutely stunning. This one in total has 8 channels that you can hook up. Oh boy, I can't even count anymore. 2, 4, 6, 8. No, it has 8. 8 channels, and then the output of that is going to that summing mixer, which I showed up here, and that goes to Cubase. Now, back to the mixer, and then to the left. Here we see a verbose bark filter processor. Absolutely incredible sounding. I use it a lot. And here we see some more Erica, a VCO, and also a filter, and an endorphin, the Squick Dirty. It's an interesting module for filtering, and it does a couple of other things that makes it really unique sounding. So I'm happy that I have them. So underneath, we see the Jomox, the bass drum module. Right next to it, we see a percussion module by Noise Engineering, sorry, not Teenage Engineering. I always mix them up. This is an incredible sounding percussion module. Right next to it, there's another one. They're incredible boxes. Here we see a Roland oscillator. This is the Swarm oscillator by Radical Technologies. Jesus. Get your shit together, Mr. Holkenborg. Right here, now we're back with the Sophia. So the last row, here we have the Trident, a really interesting oscillator in the way that it modulates multiple things at the same time. This is a really interesting box. It's made by EOWave, and you can do various different percussive sounds or long sounds with these triggers with really funny parameters, and also to create feedback. It has a built-in spring reverb, a really lovely box to create really weird sounds with. From that same company, it's the Weather Drones, which is also another module where you can create really excessive weird tones, and I love to use it for dark ambient kind of things, especially when you use it in conjunction with some of the effects that I've been discussing in another video. Here we have Verbose, the harmonic oscillator, a really great sounding oscillator. This was actually totally new for me, the Polygogo. My guy that I go to here in Amsterdam, Media Amsterdam it's called, and Tim is his name. He just makes me aware of things that I had no idea it existed, and this is one of them. This is a really great way of creating FM type tones, and it can go from really mellow, nice and belly to really, really, really aggressive. Here we have the third generator, endorphins. I have to say this is somewhat based on the oscillators made by Buchla. So it has a principal oscillator and it has a modulation oscillator, yet it delivers tones that are quite different from Buchla. And I'm very happy that I have this one. Now, if I move the camera to the side a little bit, and if we can come back on focus, you see the whole rack, how it looks from the side. And now I'm going to the same position on rack number 2 that I started on rack number 1 or left. So first we have the clock information. Right next I have the wobble bug. and the Tempe by Make Noise, two incredible modules. The Wobblebug does something like the Source of Uncertainty by Buchla, and it is able to generate random voltages based on whatever comes in, and random clicks and clock and such. Very great module. The Tempe is able to divide any clock information that comes in or multiply it, hence all the blue lights that are flickering. So you have 6 of them, and it's a really great module to offset standard trigger information with more experimental ones. Above we see another instrument made by Instro. This is a Zion with which you can also generate random CV information based on a biometric input. So I have it actually now stuck into a white noise out, which is going to energize the whole system. But you could use like a contact thing. You could actually attach it to a plant or even to your dog or cat, and it's going to generate information based on what you attach it to. Right next to it, we have the Control Forge, which is an incredible, powerful box to generate really crazy envelope information, and you can sequence it, and you can do the most incredible stuff with it. Really great to create a pretty random type CV, but also things that are more sequenced and organized. Here we see another morpher, CV morpher, like the left rack has. And we see the multiples with the CV coming in. We see the white cables with the envelopes coming in from the envelope generators. And we see the black cables that will distribute the trigger information from this sequencer to all these envelopes over here. We'll get there in a minute. This is the fusion modulator by Erica. You can really grade some great envelopes out of that. Then I have the Batumi, which is a sort of envelope type thing, and it can go really, really slow to really, really fast. Next to it, another Instro enveloper, LFO. Right next to it, the Cumulus from Afterlater. And this is actually what the clouds used to be by Mutable. Here we get some effects that are already discussed in a different video, so I'm going to be short about this. It's the Starlab, it's the Spring Reverb, the Air Buffer by Make Noise, Radical Technologies, Multi-Effector, the Magneto by Straumann, 2 analog delays by Erica, the Mimeophone, Make Noise, and the Black Hole by Erica Synth. And right next to it, again, we have a DSP effector made by, sorry, I had to zoom in with my own eyes, made by Seok, and I got this one recently, so I still need to really get into this. So if we go down the row below, we see similar envelope generators by Instro and Attack Decay. We see the Sadars again, but here we see another one that is Make Noise Maths, which is absolutely fantastic. And here we see another Instro oscillator, especially good for low frequencies to use as an LFO. Then we see some filters by Erica, the dual filter and the fusion filter. Right next to it, we see one of those mixers again by AGH. Fantastic sounding mixers. Here I'm mixing some of the effects together that I talked about in a different video. We see some more noise engineering, a great module. And right next to it, we see another summing mixer that currently I'm not using. Something is going in, but I'm not quite using it. We see 2 joystick controllers again. Here we see a wonderful box. That's the Morpheus. So these are some of the 3D emulator filters, the Z-plane filters designed by the guy who then started Electro Rossum, an absolutely fantastic high-end company. We see a stereo filter by Make Noise, the Q-Pass. If I move over, we see the Expand by Make Noise, a very interesting module to do really creative stuff with panning, and I use it quite a lot actually. Right next to it, we have an Instro matrix. So it has a bunch of inputs, it has a bunch of outputs, and with these tiny little cables, you connect the matrix how it needs to be connected according to your wishes. If we go to the row below that, this is a new oscillator that it's the Spectrophone by together with the same guy by Soundhack, who was also responsible for some of the other great effects made by Make Noise. I just got it. I haven't played around with it a lot yet, but I will pretty soon. One of these wonderful mixers. We have the Trash Master by WMD. We have the Quasar, which is also a new module. It does something with psychoacoustics. I haven't played around with it yet, so I have to give you an answer later. Here, another WMD mixer for the right rack. I already explained the mixer in detail on the left rack. Right next to it, we have an incredible filter made by IntelliGel, the Corgasmatron. It has two separate filters that can work in conjunction or separate, and they're absolutely wonderful sounding filters. Right next to it, we have a bunch of ARP 2600 type or 2500 or 2600, sorry, I'm not reading well, oscillators by Behringer. This is the type of oscillator you want to use if you want to create like a big saw wave bass patch or something like that. They're very, very good for that. Underneath that, we see a voice that is actually a CS80 voice, but then in a Eurorack format. Below that, we see another one of those EOWave modules that I also had on the left. I love to stack them up and have two different percussion sounds going on at the same time and play with it in or the Eurorack or Buchla. Right next to it, we have the Morphogene, which is made by Make Noise. It's like a sampler slicer, and you can do some really, really creative stuff with it. If we move over, we go to probably one of the best oscillators released in the last 10, 15 years for Eurorack, and that's the DPO by Make Noise. It's what a beast of an oscillator. So big shout out to Make Noise for making this incredible oscillator and the tones it has given us musicians to really create wonderful tones. Now we get to a couple of modules made by Instro. The Abhar is like a granular sampler, and it allows you to sample up to 2, 4, 6, 7 wave files at the same time, and then you can switch between the different wave files. And at this point, I'm controlling it with random control voltage. And how do I know that? Because the cable is pink. Yes, I remember that. And green is the output of this module. Right next to it, we have sort of like a tape deck recorder, and you can play with the playback speed, forward, backwards. You can control a lot of these things with CV. A wonderful sounding box, actually. This is also Instro, the harmonic, and with this you can create really weird scales and really weird chords. If you feed it with a lot of random CV, you get really interesting drones out of it. Here we see two pressure points by Make Noise. Wonderful to have in each modular system. Above that, we have the Troika, which is a very straightforward 3 oscillator oscillator combined into one. You can modulate with each other. You can take all the individual outputs. It's a wonderful sounding oscillator. Right next to it, we have the CSL. Now that is a more complex oscillator where you could do some really interesting wave shaping and wave folding. Very, very good sounding oscillator. Right next to it is the Kruin, which allows you to create like a really thick oscillator type sounds with multiple forms of detuning. Here we have the Saik. This is a module that is new to me, so I haven't played with this one yet. Here we see some in and outs to control voltage coming in, voltage coming out. The Neoni is a very simple type oscillator, very good for standard tones. Here we have the wavetable oscillator by Erica. This is one of my favorite ones. It really delivers exceptional tones. This is a pretty standard oscillator. Now, this company, WMD, as far as I understand, they don't produce anywhere, which is a really big shame. This is the Synchrodyne, which is like what I just said about the Make Noise DPO, probably one of the best oscillators ever made. It's so experimental, and it gives you absolutely wonderful, wonderful tones. Hey guys, I hope that you liked this episode where I give you a quick tour through the Eurorack modular system. In a different video, I'm gonna show you, the sound of all these different things, and also a performance where the Buchla and the modular Eurorack modular are working in conjunction with each other to create really amazing sequences and tones. As you know, comments please below and we'll read them. I will get to them in a different studio time. I hope you like this episode and I'll see you soon.